Okay, Raymond, we're going to talk on two or three different topics here now.
Yeah.
School, church, and sports, especially hockey.
Yeah.
But the first one I'm going to ask you about is the traditional funeral process that it used to be.
Yes.
Because I can remember when my grandfather, Sam Morgan, great-grandfather, Sam
Yeah.
Morgan, and we were involved with the roll call. Now, that's the only one that I can remember being in the roll call. Can you tell us what used to happen at funerals then?
Well, the most vivid memory of all is not Uncle Walter Daw, as we remember, but Grandfather Daw. When Grandfather Daw died down at Ship Cove, now some people might not know, but that was my favorite place to go to play 120s.
Oh, yes.
And I don't have to go there. A Pentecostal playing
Yep.
120s.
That's right.
Down to Grandfather Daw's. We used to gather there, Eric Pitt and Walt Daw, Bob, Aunt Kitty, Uncle Walter, and when Grandfather died, of course, Bob and Walt were sort of, they were special, they were the grandchildren, and they weren't going to do a lot because that wasn't the role of them. But they assigned me to do, of all things, to go to Hibbs Cove, Pick Eyes, and blow me down with the invitations to the funeral.
Wow.
Now, those invitations were all handwritten to the individuals that I was to bring the invitations to.
Okay.
By whoever, Aunt Kitty, Uncle Walton.
Right.
And so, Raymond, here's your batch of invitations. You deliver them now to our relatives and close friends, and they'll be all properly notified about funeral. Now, one of the things that might interest people is sending me to Hibbs Cove in the 1950s to deliver stuff to individual houses was not easy.
No.
I had no idea where most people lived.
Exactly.
Because you didn't go there much.
No.
The only house I knew really well in Hibbs Cove was my cousin's house, Willie Petton's, Uncle Chess and Aunt Flora.
Right.
So the first stop I had to make was to go there and get my directions, almost like coming to St. John's without a GPS now, right? You're
right.
down in Hibbs Cove and you're looking for Uncle Willis Lear and you're looking for Uncle Ern Lear or whoever they are, and you don't know which house they're in.
No.
And you dare not bring the wrong invitation to the wrong family house.
No, for sure.
So it had to be done right. That was the big chore. When you got that done, those written invitations were delivered to those people. Of course, they were expected, not pleasantly surprised if you weren't there. You almost had to be at the funeral.
Yes.
And of course, that was a chore in itself, because then the funeral was such that there was, I suppose, reverence, and everybody was laid back and kind of feeling sad. And all of the houses by the day of the funeral had their blinds drawn.
Down, yeah.
Some people even wore black armbands,
right,
all of that stuff. But the most interesting thing then was all those invitations had been properly screened and processed, I'm sure, and it got down to the funeral is leaving the house. We're leaving Uncle Walter's to go up to the church, the Anglican church.
Right.
And of course, I forget who the person was, but then that person had to call out in the proper lineage and gender, each person to follow that hearse with the casket on.
Right.
And Lord help you, if you were called out in the wrong order or you tried to sneak in ahead of somebody else.
Yeah.
Because on gender and on lineage or age, you had to be right there, the oldest sibling right behind the next sibling, and went on down the line, and then the uncles and the aunts and the cousins. They literally almost got the whole procession called out individually and headed to the church. But what we used to always say is, I hope there's no mistake made in inviting Joyce to the funeral and having her walk behind somebody else that she should have been ahead of.
Yeah.
That was a big, basic mistake, and you didn't ever want to do that.
No.
But that was the process. But like I said, the part I remember was delivering those handwritten, in an envelope too, to all those people who were relatives or close friends.
So, of course, they were waked in the house.
Oh, yes, waked in the house.
And how did they get to church? Horse and...
there was the horse, the hearse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, some of them were long hauls, right, from wherever they came. And we always were so reverent and obliging and listening and watching, and that it was so stately.
Yes.
Especially grandfather Dar. I have to go back to him because,
Yeah.
of course, he was the known really schoolmaster in Portagrave. Everybody knew the schoolmaster
Right.
at his day.
Yeah.
I can digress for a minute there, if you don't mind, and forget about the funerals
Yeah.
for just a second. In case you don't know and people don't know, I have the complete census of Portagrave Peninsula, handwritten by 3 gentlemen, Uncle Walter Daw in particular, every house in Portagrave with everybody's age, when they were born, their denomination and what they worked at, handwritten for 1911.
That's amazing. That would be wonderful to see.
Now, it's not going to be, I shouldn't say this, but I've kind of committed to my brother Roland,
Right.
because he got something to do with heritage. I don't know
You
what
know,
it
I
is.
don't know either.
But anyway, he's involved.
Yeah.
I promised him that at one point in time,
Yeah.
I will officially turn over the 1911 handwritten census of the Dock, Berneed, and all 7 communities in Portagrave to the Heritage Society.
That will be an amazing piece of history for
And
sure.
I'm telling you, I've settled a lot of arguments with that
I
document.
would say you have.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, just getting back to the funeral one more.
Yes.
The hearse that they carried, is that the one down in St. Mark's, or was there one in?
There could have been more than one. I'm not sure.
No.
Somehow I think there was more than one, but then again, I'm not sure, because my grandfather and grandmother were carried on a hearse.
Yeah.
And of course, they went all the way from Kellygo's Hill to the neck where the old Pentecostal
Yes.
cemetery was.
Right.
And I remember that distinctly and clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if it's the same one.
No.
You'll have to ask the heritage man.
Yes. And who was your father's parents? Like Uncle Alf Andrews is
Oh,
your
yeah,
dad,
yeah,
but
well,
who were your
My grandfather was Garland,
Garland?
correct name, and his wife was Mary Kennedy, and she originated in Long Pond. But in the meantime, I've since found out that her connections as a Kennedy, while she came from Long Pond, her connections were still fairly clear, but nobody kind of knew for sure
No.
from Portagrave.
I've found, like, since I've been doing these interviews, I've found it very interesting that you ask where their parents came from.
Yes.
And there's always one came from over on the shore. Like,
That's right. And if you look at the names over
Yeah.
there now, there's another hill that fascinates me. I'm still talking about it and writing about it this week
Yeah.
with other people. And that's Kellygo's Hill.
Yes.
Because Kellygo's Hill and Taylor's Hill were almost adjoining, eh? And the history on Kellygo's Hill is a little...
So where's Kellygo's Hill?
Kellygo's Hill is where Bert Reed and them, Ma Reed was.
Oh, I never heard of call that before.
Well, that was Kellygo's Hill back as far, back in the 1840s. That was Kellygo's Hill. I actually got one of the deeds of the piece of land where one of the Kellygos bought the land in about 1830.
Oh, very good.
And the reason I mentioned Kellygo's Hill, and it's something else too, it's in Gerald's book also,
Right.
but in a different context,
Yes.
because there was also a house there called the Caribou Hut.
The Caribou. Oh,
Yeah, and you didn't heard that before, did you?
Nope.
But anyway, Kellygo's Hill was there right on the top, and the reason I recall it is that my grandfather Garland, and Dad, of course, and Uncle
Yeah.
Harold, they lived in one half of the Caribou Hut.
Oh, very good.
And the other half, believe it or not, we only got this resolved recently,
Yeah.
was occupied by Ma Reed and them.
Oh,
Yeah, because she was a Daw, and all the connections we don't know, but there was this big duplex
yeah.
on the top of Kellygo's Hill.
That's
And that's where Grandfather Garl was.
now that's amazing. Okay, you just spoke about Mary Reed.
Yes.
We always call it Mary Reed.
Marion.
Marion.
And Marion.
Right. Uncle Eli.
Yeah.
Did he repair shoes? I used to think that.
I don't know if, probably he did, but I know one thing he did do well, and that's play for the dancers.
Oh, play for the dances.
But he could have been, yeah.
Yeah. Because I used to think like they'd send like our shoes down to him to fix the taps or something.
Okay, well then yeah, and that could be another part of history that I
Yeah.
don't know, yeah.
Okay. We've focused now on the funerals.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna end this topic now,
Yeah.
and we're gonna go to another one.
Yes, you are.